We got a Black Hawk 9 corn sheller. That is a, I guess you'd call it a family heirloom. I don't know. It just was passed down from my dad and my grandfather and so forth. It's missing the wooden handle here that's been broken and come off, but I've got all the parts to it. This is for these holders here, and this is so that it will fit onto a barrel and be held onto a barrel. But I'm going to take this thing apart. We're going to clean it up some and just kind of give a little bit of makeover. There's no real paint color on it, so I'm not really worried about the fact that I'm going to clean it up. I've got a grinder also, but it has a little bit of a red color to it, some stickers. I'm not going to go at it quite as hard because I want to kind of leave that original finish on it if I can. But I'm just going to take this apart good, clean it up good, and lube it up good, and get it going again just for conversation piece. So this first part, you've got a nut that held this handle on. We're taking that apart. It came off really easy. Got a screw here to take this off, and then flip it over. We'll have a nut here that holds the spring on there. It's basically a very simple design, and it's not a lot of complexity in taking it apart. We'll break it apart and then we'll start cleaning it up. Okay, so this screw is giving me a little bit of a problem here, so we're gonna soak that for a while. And then this should have been more like a wing nut, more like this, because this you turn as you feed it to adjust how tight this is. So this has been broken off and worn off. So I'm gonna get some vice grips and pull this off here, and I'll get a replacement for that. And then we're gonna let that other screw soak a while and see if we can get it to move a little bit for us. After we undid the spring, this carriage bolt was going through there, going through the spring. This just comes off of here. One piece removed. And then we're gonna work on getting this plate out of here. Probably have to pull this off first in order to clear that. And then we basically will be completely apart. Got those screws out of there, and now it's all broken down to its individual pieces. Now we'll start cleaning it up. I'll do a little side experiment here while I'm looking at redoing this corn sheller. I'm gonna get my material I need, and I'm gonna actually use some electrolysis to remove some of this and see if it cleans it up a little better. But I've got a little bit of this Loctite navel jelly, and I'm just gonna put some on this just to kind of see how well it cleans it up. At least just do this one side so I can kind of take a look and see how it comes out. This is the before. And I'm gonna get it applied and leave it on about 15 minutes and we'll see what happens. Just so you kind of see, I kind of just wiped it down pretty good on this one side. We'll see. This uses, it's an acid in it because you can kind of smell it, but I'm trying to see if I can see what if it tells me what the actual active ingredient is on it. But it's an acid. I'll try to look and see and know for sure. But you can tell it's an acid. It has kind of an egg smell to it, rotten egg smell. But I'm gonna let it sit again for 15 minutes and we're gonna see how it turns out. We went the 15 minutes, washed off good. That has phosphoric acid in it is what it is. And so it definitely cleaned it up some. There wasn't a bulk of rust on it, but it actually did clean up some rust because now you can actually see some black paint underneath there. Now there may be, that may be still a little bit of rust on there, surface rust, but this is much cleaner around where the stamping is at, or the mold. I think they molded that as they poured it. So I guess they did a pretty good job. We'll see. I've got there's a lot of writing on this. Definitely has more rust on it on this. This is a cleaner product. This piece probably equates better to the condition this was in. So this will probably clean, it's just a matter of cleaning it up pretty well in reality. This definitely has the rust on it. So this will be interesting to see how the electrolysis works on this, and I'll try to get that set up and start on that tomorrow. So I'm gonna try to clean that plate off that corn sheller using electrolysis. And what I've got here is just water with just plain old generic baking soda in it. You can tell this is, I didn't show it to you beforehand, but this got some bubbles building on my sacrificial piece of metal. And then there's been some slow bubbles coming up here off of this. Barely got it going. I'll probably leave it for a day or so and see how it works out. Your negative lead goes to the piece you're wanting to clean. Your positive lead is going to go to your sacrificial. And this is just the generic, or not generic, but it's the EverStart from Walmart I've had for years, battery charger. So we'll give this at least a day and see how it starts looking. Just to give you an idea, this is 2.5 hours in, and you can tell it's definitely removing some rust because of the color of the water. You can just tell that it's working to some degree, and of course it's too difficult to see what kind of quality result we'll get at this point. I don't want to pull it out and look at it just yet. So it's been about probably about 18 hours or so, and so I pulled this out, and it definitely cleaned it up a lot. You can actually see where it looks like it had been painted black, which kind of matches how the other pieces were as well. So you can see much more detail with it here now than was before. And I'm going to take a little wire brush and see if I can clean this up a little bit more, but it absolutely got a lot of the rust off of it. On this side, which is hard because on this side, I did wipe it off to dry it, which cleaned it up some because there was a little residual rusty, water on it, rusty color water. If you let it dry naturally, it would have messed it up again. Here, though, it's very difficult to get down in this for this particular part and clean it and dry it up very well. So I'll try to brush it a little bit more and brush some of that residue off of there, but it absolutely cleaned it up much better than it was. So I'm pretty pleased with that process on this particular part. I think it probably depends on which kind of parts you have as to the success rate of it. Okay, so I've been just using this basic wire brush now to kind of go ahead and scrape it a little bit more. And you can kind of tell that it actually is helping it tremendously to clean out these letters and so forth on here. And this is just a little cheap Harbor Freight wire brush that I'm using on it. But it is definitely coming much cleaner. Oops, sorry about that. Looks like it made the camera jump there. So it looks like this is going to clean up pretty good using this process. Get it down, and I'll probably do some type of a chemical on it, like a degreaser, to kind of clean it really good and stuff in order to prep it to paint this piece. Okay, I just want to take a second and show you as I go back and try to clean this up. I'm going to try to do another part. This is my sacrificial piece of metal. You can see all of the rust material on it, all the metal on it. And I have no clue. I'll probably try to hit this with a wire brush, and I'm going to try to do another piece. I've never done this before. I don't know how often you can use this piece of material, but I'm gonna try to use it again. I'm just gonna clean off with a wire brush. Here's the next piece I'm going to try to do. I had set it in here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just empty all this out and put fresh water in it, a little more baking soda, and we'll try the next piece then. Okay, so I emptied out that water. I cleaned off my sacrificial piece of metal a little bit with a wire brush. I'm gonna try two pieces. I'd just throw a piece of rebarb in here as well. And I just have it wrapped around. You can see the wire wrapped around it on both pieces. I try to get it tight. You have to have some conductivity there, so you can't just have it hanging in there. Put the baking soda in there. I did put a loop of wire. I just kind of looped my piece of wire at the end. It's here, you just kind of hit, you can't see it, just because it helps that clamp on better. For the clamps I have, just being a straight wire doesn't do any good. And we're going to turn this thing, we're going to plug it in, and we'll see what happens here. So we'll see, but we may start getting something immediately, or we may not. Yesterday it took a little bit of time to get it going, and again, it's just the basic battery charger, and we shall see what happens. We'll give it a few hours. I don't know if I'll give it a full 18 hours. We'll see. I'm not built with patience, so we'll see kind of how it goes. I'm gonna just show you this real quick. You can see now, by the time I stopped the camera from moving, it started having that reaction there. You can see coming off the rebar and so forth. So we're getting some reactions. We'll see what how this one does.